Alrighty, so we're going to be doing chapter 4 now, and we're going to start with exponents because 4 wants exponents. Alrighty, so if you get 5 squared, that means 5 to the second power, or like I just said, instead of saying second power, you could say squared. So you can say 5 squared or 5 to the second power. And it's written out like 5 times 5. So however many of the, whatever your exponent is, you write that number out that many times. And we know that 5 times 5 is 25. Therefore, 5 squared is 25. Now, the general form of exponents is b to the n. Okay, where b is the base, so b represents the base. So in that other case, that the base would have been 5, right there, 5. And then the n is the exponent, or you could call it the power. It depends on what you want to call it. Again, you can read it b to the n. Like if you don't know what number it is, like obviously you can use squared and cubed. But once you get 4, 5, 6, you say, you know, b to the 4th. B to the 5th, or I can say b to the n power. Now, we can use exponents to more easily simplify multiplication of variables. So, for example, we can write these in exponential form. Instead of saying 6 times 6 times 6 times 6, we know that we have a base of 6, because that's what's being multiplied together, and how many of them we have is 4. So, it's 6 to the 4th. A. Again, what is being multiplied? A is being multiplied, so that's our base. And then we count how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that would be our power, because that's how many times A is being multiplied together. So it's A to the 6th. Now we have this one, have some mixture of it, okay? So we have -3. We have C, and that is being raised to the 3rd power, because there's 3 of them. So C is the base to the 3rd power. And then we have D, but that's raised to the 2nd power. Now keep in mind that 3 is only going to the C and that 2 is only going to the D. There's no power for -3. And with that being said, we're going to make sure you pay close attention to parentheses. What's the difference between parentheses, 3xy and then squared, and 3xy squared? Well, what is being squared? I always think, what is the exponent directly touching? Well, in this case, it's directly touching the parentheses, so therefore, whatever's inside the parentheses is what is being raised to the 2nd power. So 3 is being raised to the 2nd power, or wait, hold on. I'm going to show it a different way. It's basically 3xy times 3xy, because 3xy is the base, and it's being raised to the 2nd power. But we can rearrange this using the commutative property, and so I'm going to put 3 times 3 next to each other. I'm going to do x times x next to each other, and y times y. Okay, but then that I can simplify from there. 3 times 3 is 3 squared, or I can say 9, but I'm going to put 3 squared first, and then I'm going to do x squared, and I'm going to do y squared. So really, if you see that, which we're going to learn the rule later, but that 2 is being I don't like to say distributed because it's not quite that, but it kind of seems like it is being put to each one. But this one would be a final of 9x squared y squared. So you see how this ends up being this, yet this looks very similar. Only the y is being squared in this time, because what is the 2 touching? It's directly touching the y. Only the y is being squared for that one. Now also remember order of operations. Order of operations. Okay, exponents come second after parentheses, all right? Parentheses, please excuse, so parentheses, and then you deal with the exponents. Now, if it says evaluate and you have this, evaluate basically means take what you know and plug it in. So I'm going to be plugging in 3 for A, and I'm going to be plugging in -2 for B, and then you're going to get an answer. You're going to simplify it until you can't anymore. Everyone says, are you going to solve it? The way y'all think about it, y'all think that solving it's just like, you know, finding the answer, but really solving is when you have an equal sign, like when you're solving an equation and finding x. This one we're just going to be plugging in and simplifying until we get the most simple answer possible. So I'm going to rewrite this, and I'm going to say we have 2 times 3 plus a -2, and that's all in parentheses, and that's all being squared. Well, I have to deal with the inside the parentheses first because parentheses comes first in the order of operation. So I have to simplify the parenthesis before I can square it. So 2 times 3 is 6, and then that would be a minus 2, and still in parentheses, so I still have to deal with that first. Then I have 4 squared, and once I dealt with the parentheses can really go away. So I have 4 squared, which is 4 times 4, which we know is 16. So 16 would be my answer, and I evaluated it. Now this one, again, plug it in. So I'm going to plug in 2 for x, so I'm going to have 2, and then I'm going to have minus 5 for y, and that has to be squared, or cubed, my bad, over 2 times x, which is 2, plus 5, because y is 5. I'm going to simplify. Well, I'm going to simplify the top and bottom separately, because if you remember, a fraction bar is kind of a special case, okay? So you do like the top of the fraction bar, the bottom of the fraction bar, and then you divide at the end. So I'm going to do the top, which 2 minus 5 is negative 3, and negative 3 is being cubed. You have to be careful with that parenthesis, okay? And I'll show you why a little bit later. Okay, so we now have 2 times 4. 2 times 2 is 4, so we have 4 plus 5. Now, this, we know that negative 3 is being cubed. Negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. Okay? And then we have 4 plus 5, which is 9, which we then, negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 is a negative 27 over 9, which simplifies to a negative 3. So that's my answer. One last thing, keep in mind, and I'm going to do this with I guess an even power. So if I have negative 2 raised to the 4th power, and I have I have negative 2 raised to the 4th power, these two give you different answers. Because again, like my trick said, what is the power directly touching? It's directly touching the parentheses, so whatever's inside the parentheses. So this is the same as negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, which if you multiply those together, the negatives cancel out and you get 4. If you multiply those together, the negatives cancel out, you get 4, so you get 4 times 4, which is 16. On the other hand, what is the 4 touching? It is directly touching the 2. So really, it's just figuring that out. So basically, you need to find 2 to the 4th and then make it negative. Well, I know 2 to the 4th is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is 16, and then you make it negative at the end, like, because the negative, it's almost like a negative 1 in front, so then we get negative. So this one's negative 16 and this one's positive 16. So be careful. Parentheses and negatives and all that stuff with exponents matter. There you have it.